If I had to pick one artist and one story, that person would be Bill Worrell. And Bill Worrell is a Texan who became a painter. He was a professor, and his story about discovering pictographs off the Pecos River in Texas started him on a venture 30 some odd years ago. And he is by far our most prolific and successful artist. And I think his artwork does something different than the other artists here because it hits people's DNA in a way that is unexpected. They'll be standing in the room, they're looking at his work, and all of a sudden tears come to their eyes. I mean, honestly, tears. It's between what they're seeing and what they're reading, because he's writing poems about each piece, and it really affects them physically in a really wonderful way. And he just fits in because he's so spiritual. And so it fits in with the Sedona theme, because Sedona is very spiritual in many, many different ways.
We're floating the last portion of the Pecos River. The river flows to the Rio Grande at the border of Texas and Mexico. We were doing an article for Outside magazine, photographic essay, and we got into inundating rains and storms, electrical storms, and we had to take shelter. It was absolutely necessary. These pictographs upon the walls of that shelter were stunning, and I knew in an instant my life was going to change, but I knew I was going to deal with that subject matter with my artistic pursuits. And I did. When we got off the river, I went back and got every book that I could get on ancient rock art, Indian rock art, and for 7 years I painted and sculpted and painted and sculpted things that were related to those images. In 1986, I got a break, and there was a man named James Busby, who was chairman of the art department at Houston Baptist University, where I was teaching, who called a gallery in Santa Fe and got me an appointment. Put those pieces out on the floor, and the director of that gallery sat there and looked at it and said, "I like this. I can sell this." So she took about half of what I had, and I was in orbit. And I got in my VW van, loaded the half that she couldn't take, and drove out to Chaco Canyon on back road, drove to Canyon de Chelly on back roads, drove back to my ranch in Texas where I had a house under construction and an answering machine that was blinking late at night when I got back in, and I mashed the button, and a voice said, "You better call me because I have good news for you." And I called her the next day, and she'd sold out. And I didn't even unload my van. I just turned around and drove back the 600 miles back to Santa Fe. And one thing after another happened, all because of that rain deluge on the lower Pecos River in 1979. People ask me, well, do you do these writings and then do the sculpture? Or you do the sculpture and then the writings? And I don't know how to answer that question. They're really synergistic. So I just keep a journal with me all the time, and when thoughts come, I write them down. Some pages have 1 or 2 sentences on them, some of them are crammed full of sentences, but they seem to be interconnected. It's not like I make a piece and then think, I need a writing for this, you know, or I do a writing and think, I need to make a sculpture for this writing. It's something that just seems to flow.